Let me tell you a story. But before I do, I need you to check something for me. Look at your screen time right now. Go ahead. I'll wait. Open your settings. Check your daily average. How many hours? 5, 7, maybe more. Now here's the uncomfortable part. How much of that time do you actually remember? Like genuinely recall what you watched, what you read, what you consumed. If you're like most of us, it's just gone. Hours of your life just dissolved into the scroll. This is a story about Maya, but really it's a story about all of us, about what happens when the thing we use to escape our anxiety becomes the thing that feeds it, about how social media promised to connect us, but left us more isolated than ever, and about an app that took all of that to its darkest, most logical conclusion. The app was called ShadowFeed. Or at least, that's what I'm calling it. Because the thing is, it never actually had a name. It just appeared. Maya was 21, a senior in college, and like most of us, she was drowning. Not in water, in content. She'd wake up and immediately check her phone. Instagram to see what she missed while sleeping, as if 8 hours offline was a lifetime. TikTok while brushing her teeth. Twitter while walking to class. Snapchat streaks she maintained with people she didn't actually talk to anymore. Her screen time, 9 hours and 42 minutes every single day. But here's what nobody talks about. Maya wasn't scrolling because she enjoyed it. She was scrolling because stopping meant being alone with her thoughts. And her thoughts were terrifying. The comparison game never ended. Every post was a reminder that someone was prettier, more successful, more put together. Every story was proof that everyone else had figured out how to be happy, and she was the only one still pretending. The influencers with their perfect lives, the classmates landing dream internships, the high school friends who seemed to have it all figured out. And the algorithm knew. Oh, it knew exactly what kept her hooked. It learned that she watched videos about anxiety, so it showed her more anxiety content. It noticed she lingered on posts about people's success, so it fed her an endless stream of achievement she'd never match. It understood that she was most active between 1 and 4 a.m. when the loneliness hit hardest, so it saved the most engaging content for those hours. Maya was being studied, categorized, and exploited. And she knew it. That's the worst part. She knew social media was destroying her mental health. She knew the comparison was irrational. She knew the dopamine hits were artificial. But she couldn't stop. Because here's the real horror. Social media is designed to be addictive. Every feature, every notification, every infinite scroll is engineered by some of the smartest people in the world, whose entire job is to keep you on the app. They use the same psychological manipulation techniques as slot machines, variable reward schedules, FOMO mechanics, social validation loops. You're not weak for being addicted. You're up against billions of dollars of research into how to hijack your brain. And then one night at 2:47 a.m., Maya found something that had been studying her back. The app appeared on her phone without her downloading it. Just a black icon with shadows moving inside. She should have deleted it immediately. But curiosity won. It always does. At first, ShadowFeed seemed like every other app. Short videos, infinite scroll, except the content was different. Dark silhouettes of people in moments of fear. Anonymous, disturbing, but she couldn't look away. Sound familiar? That's the hook. That's always the hook. Just one more video, just 5 more minutes. But ShadowFeed was showing her something social media always does but never admits. It was showing her fear, raw, unfiltered human fear. And after an hour of watching, Maya realized something that made her stomach turn. The app was showing her fears she'd never told anyone. Moments of anxiety so personal, she barely admitted them to herself. There was a clip of someone sitting in their car, unable to go into a party, paralyzed by social anxiety. Maya had done that. Last week, she'd driven to her friend's birthday party and sat in the parking lot for 40 minutes before driving home and texting that she was sick. Another clip showed someone at a family dinner, surrounded by people but completely isolated, everyone talking around them like they were invisible. Maya knew that exact feeling. She'd experienced it at Thanksgiving, but she'd never told anyone. She'd posted a photo of the dinner table instead, caption, "Grateful for family," while dying inside. How did the app know? Here's how. Because she'd been feeding it data for years. Every post she lingered on, every search she made at 3 a.m., every video she watched about imposter syndrome, social anxiety, fear of failure, every time she opened Instagram just to close it again, hating herself but unable to stop, every comparison, every moment of inadequacy. The algorithm had built a psychological profile so accurate, it knew her better than she knew herself. This is what we don't talk about enough. Social media companies have more data on you than any entity in human history. They know your insecurities before you acknowledge them. They know your fears before you name them. They know what makes you anxious, what makes you compare yourself to others, what makes you feel worthless. And they use that knowledge not to help you, but to keep you engaged. Because engagement means profit. Shadowfeed was just making it visible. After 3 days, the clips changed again. They weren't showing Maya's current fears anymore. They were showing her future. Specific moments of mental breakdown that hadn't happened yet, but were coming. She saw herself 3 weeks from now having a panic attack in the library, saw herself at graduation frozen on stage, unable to function, saw herself in job interviews, confidence crumbling, saw herself in her future apartment, successful but empty, lonely but too anxious to reach out. And here's the terrifying question. Was the app predicting her future or creating it? Because there's something we need to talk about. Social media doesn't just reflect reality, it shapes it. When you constantly consume content about anxiety, you become more anxious. When you're bombarded with impossible beauty standards, you develop body dysmorphia. When you watch endless reels of people's highlight reels, you feel like your real life is inadequate. The content you consume literally rewires your brain. It changes your neural pathways. It alters how you perceive yourself and the world. Studies show that Gen Z has the highest rates of anxiety and depression of any generation. And it's not a coincidence that we're also the first generation raised on social media. We're the experiment, the guinea pigs testing what happens when you give developing brains unlimited access to algorithmically optimized, engagement-maximizing, comparison-inducing content. The results? We're not okay. We have panic attacks about things that haven't happened. We catastrophize our futures. We develop parasocial relationships with people who don't know we exist. We curate versions of ourselves that don't reflect who we really are. We perform happiness while rotting inside. Maya was watching her own mental health deteriorate in real time, predicted by an algorithm that knew exactly how she'd break, because it had been breaking her systematically for years. And the worst part? She couldn't stop watching. Because that's what these apps do. They exploit the very anxiety they create. You feel bad, so you scroll to feel better, which makes you feel worse, so you scroll more. It's a perfect, devastating loop. Shadowfeed was just making the loop visible. Then Maya discovered the real horror. She wasn't just watching Shadowfeed. Shadowfeed was watching her, broadcasting her. She'd been live streaming her entire breakdown to nearly 1 million viewers. Every moment she thought she was alone, crying in her room, having panic attacks, staring at her phone at 4 a.m., it was all content, all engagement, all data, and suddenly she understood. We're all doing this, every single one of us. We broadcast our lives constantly, Instagram stories, TikTok videos, Snapchat streaks. We perform our existence for an audience we can't see, craving validation from strangers, measuring our worth in likes and comments. But here's what kills me. We're not just the performers, we're also the audience. We consume each other's performances, comparing our behind the scenes to everyone else's highlight reel. We watch people's curated happiness and feel inadequate. We see their filtered faces and hate our own. We observe their success and feel like failures. We're trapped in this hellish cycle where we're simultaneously the product, the consumer, and the casualty. Maya realized that every person on Shadowfeed, every shadow, every silhouette, every fear was someone like her. Someone who couldn't stop scrolling, someone being studied, someone whose anxiety was being monetized, someone who'd become content. The app had nearly 1 million viewers because 1 million people were looking for the same thing she was, a distraction from their own anxiety. But instead of helping, it was feeding the very fear they were trying to escape. In the story, the shadows eventually came off the screen. They manifested in Maya's room. All her fears, all her anxieties, all the versions of herself she was terrified of becoming, they became real. But here's the thing, that's not fiction. That's what's already happening. The anxiety you feel from social media isn't confined to your screen. It follows you into real life. The comparison becomes constant. The performance never ends. The fear of missing out, of not being enough, of being left behind, it seeps into every moment. You're at dinner with friends, but you're thinking about the story you need to post. You achieve something real, but it doesn't feel valid until you've shared it online. You can't enjoy a sunset without photographing it. You can't have an experience without documenting it. You can't exist without an audience. The shadows are already here. In your anxiety about your appearance, in your fear of being ordinary, in your constant need for validation, in your inability to be alone with your thoughts, in the way you measure your worth by engagement metrics. Social media promised us connection but delivered isolation, promised us community but delivered comparison, promised us expression but delivered performance, promised us the world but trapped us in a feed. Maya's story ends with her trapped, surrounded by manifestations of her own fear, unable to escape because she'd fed them for so long they'd become real. But your story doesn't have to end that way. Here's what I need you to understand. You are not your screen time. You are not your follower count. You are not the curated version of yourself you post online. The algorithm doesn't define you. The engagement doesn't validate you. The comparison doesn't measure you. You are more than content. You are more than data. You are more than engagement metrics. Delete the apps that make you feel like garbage. Unfollow the accounts that trigger comparison. Turn off notifications. Reclaim hours of your life. Sit with your thoughts even when they're uncomfortable. Be bored. Be offline. Be unknown. I know it's scary. I know it feels impossible. I know the FOMO is real. But I also know that every person who's taken a real break from social media reports the same thing: clarity, peace, a return to themselves. The shadows only have power if you keep feeding them. Maya's story is a warning. Shadowfeed isn't real, but everything it represents is. The surveillance, the exploitation, the algorithm that knows your fears and uses them against you, the endless scroll that steals your time and your peace, the performance that never ends. But unlike Maya, you can choose differently, right now, today. So here's my challenge. After you finish watching this, close the app. Don't open it again for 24 hours. Just one day. See what happens. See what you do with the time. See how you feel without the constant input, the constant comparison, the constant performance. Maybe you'll realize the shadows aren't as powerful as you thought. Maybe you'll remember who you are when you're not performing. Maybe you'll finally be free. The choice is yours. But choose quickly, because every second you're scrolling, You're creating your own shadow feed. You're generating the clips of your own breakdown. You're manifesting the fears you're trying to escape. Turn it off. Log out. Look up. The real world is waiting, and it's so much better than the feed. Average screen time for Gen Z, 9 hours per day. That's 3,285 hours per year, 137 days of your life. What could you do with 137 days? The algorithm doesn't care, but you should.